I should say before we start this that I hope that you will just kind of be open-minded and not really, think too much about. Don't try to figure out, think about what I'm saying. Just, take it in and and then, when you get done with it, it's going to be, two parts. It's, gets into the presents and comes to conclusions and everything. Why then, if you want to look at it or something like that and consider it and stuff, why, that's a better way to do it because if you do start thinking about it while you're listening to it, the very thing that I'm talking about will occur, and you're thinking, well, that's not right. That can't be right. That's the thing. Okay. Okay, so today we're going to discuss why. I'm going to try to explain to you, I'm going to make an effort to explain to you why it is that your mind is, and I'm particularly talking about when you look at, what's going on in the world and everything, and all the people trying to figure out what to do and, how to make things better. Your mind is never going to give you the answers, the right answers, the answers that you need. I mean, eventually you'll realize things and you'll become aware of things through your experience, but your mind is not going to lead you there. Or even if it does, even if it leads you there, there'll be so many other possibilities that you won't hardly notice, and you won't know that that's the one, because you won't be looking at sources. You'll be looking at what you're really thinking or what you're thinking. So what am I talking about? Well, I was just reading today. There was an interchange because there was a guy on TED, billionaire, Nick Hanauer. I think his name is Hanauer. And a good guy and a real populist. A real kind of people's guy. Hey, let's look at this. I'm a billionaire, and I don't. And he gave a good talk. It was very short, 5 minutes at TED. And his whole thing was that, this thing about the tax, this isn't going to work. What you need is to, have less tax on the middle class and more tax on the rich, and, that would work better. And, he had his good reasons. And then they banned his talk because Chris, the guy that runs TED, said, no, that's no good. That's too political. And, but the great thing was that because of this, I was reading some articles on the web about it, and this guy comes up, from Forbes, and I'm thinking, yeah, Forbes, what they're not gonna be for this at all. And sure enough, the guy was against it, and so I thought, well, it's just, the wealthy people don't want to be taxed, or some, had that in the back of my mind. Anyway, I'm reading down there through there, and he says, well. So I think it's more like, because this whole idea, he's not really understanding things. The tax doesn't really make that much difference in what happens in terms of employment. And he thought Bill Drayton's plan to eliminate the payroll tax was more like the way to go. And I don't know if he mentioned it. Anyway, so I read some other things and stuff, and I thought, I don't know, what is it? So I thought, I'll look that up. What is that? So I looked around, searched around. It wasn't long before I found this PDF with Bill Drayton's thing. It's from MIT Press, and then a whole new kind of place opened up for me, because Bill Drayton is this neat guy, and has some wonderful notions, and he's a new, have to have a new phrase now. He's a social entrepreneur. In other words, him and his group, it's really quite wonderful what they do. I mean, they try to fund and get venture capital for not for making huge profits, but for social profits. And so they fund people who have an idea, and it'll make something better, and just totally involved in it and just don't even want to live. They can't. That's all they want to do is do that thing. They're really driven, and they seem to have, this is a rare breed of people. Seem to have a kind of a knack to know how to get that thing done. I mean, actually get it done. If they want to change something in the public schools, they know how to talk to the administrators, teachers to get them to do it and stuff, and things like that. So. I can't think of the name of his article, but if you look up Bill Drayton and then, or if you follow the links in the Forbes, well, anyway, maybe I'll bring it up later. I'll add it on to the end. It's a great article. I sent it to my kids. And yeah, the article is Bill Drayton, Drayton, and it's called Engage People Retire Things. If you look at it on Google, if you Google it, you can find the article. Okay. Anyway, so he's people see, understand things. Why isn't that going to work? Why it's a mental activity. Well, I'm going to tell you. Here's why. You have some odd. You haven't been able to figure out much about man and how he works. You've gone off in the wrong direction. Freud, and there's always some truths and there's some things, but you don't get the big picture. So one of the things you don't really clearly understand is that when you use your mind to do something, there's a kind of an energy source. There's a thing there that's it's operating it. Is it a lithium battery that's operating it, or is it just a NiCad battery? I mean, is it AC or is it DC? It's some kind of energy source, and you don't pay any attention. But it's there, you use it, whatever. Maybe you get into a kind of a place where you like to use that energy source to operate your mind. For instance, you have some sort of cruder people that they seem to kind of think with some kind of pretty coarse words. I'll tell you what. Now I look at that thing. I do not see the point of it, and tell me that I'm wrong. And then you have these, really brilliant people, and they're using very fine, fast forces. You can't even catch up with them, and they're going like, because if you look at the inverted abstract of that set of, integral subsets, then it becomes clear enough. And you're going, what? Some of this. If you're bright enough, you're going, yeah, that makes sense. If your brain works that, one of those really fine, fast things. Or concepts, or however, anyways, all kind of things there. But the point is, there's an energy source. And those energies are all energies as it happens that, almost all the time, because of the way you will tend to access your mind and use it, they're all really not quite human. They're not totally human. They're like material, vegetable, animal. The forces that we have in the system, those forces energize the mind and make it work. For example, they think about eating oranges, and I think, orange would be pretty good. I'm already off in the vegetable. It's the vegetable source in me that responds to the orange thing, so it comes up in my mind. Orange would be good, But if I'm talking about bulldozers, why, it's like, there's so many uses for bulldozers. There's so many things you can do, and that's the material course. And right away, I'm going off in the material world. I'm thinking, I'm thinking about this form, that form. It's not long before I'm gone. So, when people think about what's wrong with the world. You know, you think, boy, this doesn't look good. You know, they're destroying all kinds of things, and people are acting up, and you know. So I think, actually, you know, my own I'm sort of surmise that really, when people look at things, it's all a bit too much for them. So they can't really handle it. I mean, the whole thing that's going on now in the world is so bizarre. It's so bizarre. Here we have all these people who, you know, everybody realizes that, you know, there's enough land and there's enough resources on the earth for everybody to be having a pretty good time right now. And the science is there, you know, all these, the solar and the algae and the, you know, and um, the 3D printers and, you know, I mean, but, you know, and so many things. Um, there's no question that we could all be having a good time, but instead we seem to be hell-bent, excuse my language, seem to be, you know, the major drive seems to be, well, just use up the planet and you know, because we want to keep our position or whatever, you know, whoever. There's a whole group of very powerful you know, actors, beings, creatures, corporations, you know, whatever, dictate, you know, who seem to be, you know, just hell bent, excuse my language again, on using up all the resources for stupid things and being, you know, wasteful and stuff and just destroying the planet, maybe even blowing it up. And it's just, you know, it's an amazing thing to, you know, look at it and see it's actually happening. You know, hell no, you know, building bigger and better, laser beams fly out in space and shoot down satellites, and then you can drop up. You know, I'm not even going to. You know, there's no end. There's just it just goes on and on. And these people seem quite happy too. Pretty excited about the latest weapon they've made. But you know, a sane person's going to go like, well, why are you so excited about it? Because don't you realize that, you know, I mean, it won't be long before the enemy has it. He'll be using it on you. You know, so obviously they have some kind of blinders on. They're not really looking at reality. Anyway, I don't want to discurse too, you know, get too discursive here. I have a simple point I make. That is, you know, going on with that, so the people, they think about what's wrong. Now, when you use your mind, it's going to be a source of energy that has to operate that mind. You know yourself that if you're really tired or there's no energy around, you can't think. You say, oh, I can't think. There's no energy coming in. Oh no, but when there's energy coming in, and you get up in the morning, you're all fresh and eager, or you know, there's various parts of the day, maybe even late at night, you know, when it's quiet and you're thinking about things. And there's an energy source, right? So, simply put, I'm sure this, you know, isn't rigorous. I'm not trying to be perfectly perfect, you know. God is perfect, but so I'm just an ordinary guy. I'm just looking at something. So saying, okay, so then take the material forces, and suppose the material forces, for one reason or another, and I'm not going to that, but you know, for very many reasons, they could be operating. After all, you're looking at the world, So that's a thing that tends to bring up material energy in your system. You're here and you get immersed in here and you're thinking about here, and somebody says, well, look over there, it's that butterfly. You're like, what? Oh yeah, no, that's nice. See, because you're in the material world. You know, what's the